Welcome to the pod. I think this is what, episode 7?
I think so,
It's
yes.
episode 7. We're in a nice, peaceful park
Yes.
where everything is relaxed
Yes.
and enjoyable.
Yes. Hence why we're sitting on the grass, one with nature.
I know. We're sitting on the grass because we're one with nature and not because some random woman stole our bench just as we were walking to it. Oh, how life works.
Yes.
How life works. Wow. It's an interesting one today. Due to, I guess, popular demand?
Yes. One of the comments that was sent to me, someone had suggested a specific topic. So we took that topic. Thank you for the suggestion. And we're kind of, I guess, intertwining it with our, I guess, other types of topics that we talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm also going to do this as a little safety.
Oh, was not recording?
No, it's recording on there. This is just as a safety metric, yeah. Okay. So today's episode, there's 2 titles. Let me decide quickly which one I want. We'll go with this one.
Okay.
Are we still the same people after COVID? And then dramatic. Bum, bum, bum. Crash zoom. So this was recommended by your friend.
Yes.
Because I guess it was him, her. Okay.
Him.
He felt that there was a lot of things that were different before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
COVID happened with the whole world flipped on its head,
Mm-hmm.
and that coming out of that, the world has forever changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna cover it. We're gonna cover just some insights, observations, how we feel, what we think happened, and just talk about that today.
Yes.
So it's a nice little chill episode where we talk about.
Is it
Let's
chill?
see.
Is it really chill?
It'll be chill.
Oh.
It'll be chill. There's gonna be some personal talking. There's gonna be some
Some heavy.
juicy
Oh.
talking.
Okay.
And then we get a little bit reflective, and then we finish on a philosophical note
Okay.
and a kind of hilarious note. But so the first thing that I really wanted to talk about was COVID. Everybody started hearing about it. Everybody started worrying about it.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you when you first realized, oh shit, this is real? Where were you, or what was going through your head when you realized this is oh shit?
I was actually working from home already because
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning they were kind of like saying
We don't know
things.
what's going on.
Yeah, so they were kind of advising people to like stay at home and not go into the office. So I think at that time I was working, and then that's when it came out and said, actually no, I lied. My bad.
Liar.
I was at work, and then they had mentioned, okay, yeah, you know what? They're saying that we should all stay home. So let's pack up our stuff. Let's pack up our laptops, all that stuff,
Mhm.
and then see how things go because we don't know how long this is gonna last.
Yep.
And then just kind of like until status quo. Basically, like that was what happened. So I was in the office at the time, but at the time it was still very like, you know what I mean? Kind of like laid back. It wasn't obviously like full blown pandemic, all these restrictions and all that. So it was very like surface at the very beginning. And then when I worked from home, and then that's when media started coming out with all that stuff in the news and everything about telling us what we should do based on the WHO.
The Who.
The WHO. That's where I was. How about you?
I was working on set. I was doing I can't remember what film I was working on, but I was on set, and I remember stepping away. Like I remember hearing all these things, COVID, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's spreading, this, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I got a call. I got a call from my dad, and I was like, oh shit, maybe I can let this go to voicemail because I'm busy. And then I was like, I texted him being like, hey, I'm just on set. Like, I'll give you a call in maybe an hour. And he said, no, make a point of calling me now.
Oh.
And
so
I
he
was like, oh shit, okay. So he called me, and he essentially was like, so my dad works in the grocery field, and so he was like, don't tell anybody because you'll freak them out. But just as a heads up, we might go on like a hardcore lockdown to the point where we have to have groceries delivered for us. And he's like, I just heard from the war room that this is potentially what's going on, and they would state like instate this or what's the word? They would put this into effect that night.
Wow.
And he's like,
That's
"Where
seriously.
are you?" Yeah. He's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm in the West End filming a movie." And he goes, "Okay, well, when you like make sure that you're at home, 10ish, just before 10." And I remember being like, "Well, we wrap at 8, and by the time everybody gets out of here, I'm the last to leave, so maybe I'll make it."
Yeah.
And that was when I went, oh, this is like serious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking it was going to be like martial law, lockdown, like just from that phone call.
Yeah.
But no, like it went down, and then I think there was within 24 hours there was an announcement being like, hey, everybody, limit going outside and this, that, and the other, and whatever else the case is. And I remember everybody being very, very freaked out. Yeah, and then we went into lockdown mode, and I remember everybody just being very scared because nobody really knew what was going on or what to expect, and there was a lot of misinformation kind of going all over the place.
Yeah.
And so I was working. I was on set working.
Yeah. I think the majority of people were actually working, most likely.
Yeah.
While this was like all playing out like behind the scenes type
Yeah,
of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. My next question goes into a little bit down the timeline.
Okay.
Is there anything small or weird you missed from lockdown life?
No.
Nothing you miss? No,
No.
You're just like, oh, I miss friends and people and life and existence.
No, like I think the only thing that the only thing I probably missed was actually like hanging out with my friends. I think if that, like having that social aspect, right? I mean, like, remember that whole stupid thing of like, oh, you're only allowed to have 10 people in your bubble. Okay, well, that was like squashed out stupid because let's face it, it's like you're 10 people, but you don't know who those 10 people are hanging out with, right?
Right.
And then you're part of their bubble, and so on and so forth. So then it doesn't make sense to have 10 people in your bubble because you don't know who those other people are.
Right. You don't know who they're seeing, who they're interacting with.
I know they were trying to do the limiting interactions, but I think it was kind of foolish. I think that 10 people are going to stick to their only 10 people.
Well, at that point, you hoped people were doing it.
Yes.
I know that I had a lot of people that I would normally interact with.
Yes. Don't mind me. I'm just going to get this over me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people who just like wouldn't go out with anybody.
Okay.
They just didn't want to talk to anybody, didn't want to go out. They were like, you know what, I'm okay. Just like we'll do like a phone call check-in or like a Zoom call or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that being very, very strange. The thing that I would say I missed though is I took up running during COVID.
Okay.
And so what I missed was the fact that I could run all over the neighborhood and there was nobody. And like when I was downtown, because like everyone's like, oh, I won't leave my house. And I was like, no, this is the perfect opportunity to leave my house. So I was like running around the neighborhood and like there was nobody around. So it was just peaceful, just hanging out.
Nice.
So quiet. That was the big thing. I couldn't believe how quiet it was.
Yeah.
And then from that, and then downtown was kind of eerie. That was when I was like, oh, this is like real shit.
Yeah.
Is when I went downtown and the streets were empty. And that was when I was like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
So I would say the peace is what I missed from it, but I missed friends and all that kind of stuff. How did COVID change the way you date or approach relationships? This could be so the dating's in a romantic sense, but just relationships in general, approaching them from friendship side.
Yeah.
And then there's a second part to this question, but I'll wait till we answer first.
Okay, so we're talking like in terms of like
I guess we could even generalize more to social. Yeah, just social. How did socialization change for you?
I think so this is a good example. When it came down to who was being vaccinated and who wasn't being vaccinated, that was starting to draw the line for me because a lot of people had their own reasonings for getting the shot, the jab, whatever you want to call it, or not.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I had said to a lot of people going through all this, and even afterwards, it's like we're already segregated enough as it is between race, and that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what anybody says. Like, there's still a lot of racism out there,
Sure.
which we all know. But then to go ahead and now segregate even further, to say, well, you don't have a shot, so you're not entitled to these places and to this type of lifestyle. These people are. So I think at that point, I was like, it it destroyed a lot of friendships. It destroyed a lot of relationships. And I think for me, it was like some of my friends were getting a little testy at me because they're like, well, I don't really want to hang out with you because you're not vaccinated. And I'm like, well, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like, why all of a sudden, because I'm not, now my friendship isn't valid, or it's not as, you know what I mean? You're looking at me slightly different.
It was an interesting dynamic. I mean, like, I remember the biggest thing is I was shooting a lot of car content.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working for all the big car companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember the big distinction during COVID was that they were like, hey, Nason, like, we love working with you and it's great, but, like, if you aren't vaccinated, we can't hire you anymore. Sorry.
And this is the funny thing that I thought was really fucked up. Okay, you go to the hospital. You have your, like, first responders there. You have your nurses, your doctors, your EMT, all these people that are there.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, throughout this whole thing, you were cool with them helping people who had symptoms and going through various degrees of COVID. And then all of a sudden to be like you just said, if you're not vaccinated, you can no longer work. What the fuck? No, come on. Get the fuck out of here with that. Why? You praised everybody, and they were the ones that were dealing with it. And a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
had it, or whatever you want to call it, right? Yet you're going to now punish them and withhold all of that because now all of a sudden you're not vaccinated. So too bad. I get it. It's for the safety of the people. But, like, come on. Why make a big hoopla after the fact
Mm-hmm.
and not in the very beginning? That to me makes zero sense. And then these livelihoods of people who couldn't and had no choice, but they're back up against the wall because they're single families, whatever. You have to pay for your shit. You got
Mm-hmm.
kids, you got to feed them and everything. You have no choice,
All right.
right? So your only option is, you either walk away, and a lot of people were walking away from like 20 plus years. Like, let's face it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That
yeah,
was their
yeah.
career.
Yep.
And then just to be like, okay, well, now I don't have a choice. They always said you had a choice. No, that's fucking fucked. You didn't have a choice.
Well, it was like you had a choice, but you had a choice with extreme limitations.
Yeah. And so what? Those extreme limitations have to be because you didn't bother to do that? Like, that's just, I don't know. I think the way that it was handled, there are good things and bad things, but it doesn't necessarily mean like it was for the better. When you look at everything that's done now, like I said, it's like families have been destroyed because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was fighting with like their dad constantly on that, so out of everyone in my family, like my immediate family, he's the only one that's vaccinated. My kids have not even touched it. I haven't touched it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And to say for somebody, I didn't really care, to be honest. It's like, if you took it, that's your own choice. So you did it for your own reasons. I did not have a gun up to your head. I didn't, you know what I mean? Tell you, well, I don't want to hang out with you or, associate with you because you don't have it. Like, I didn't care. It's like, you have your own personal decisions, your own personal choice. What you put in your own body is what you put. That has nothing to do with what I do with my body.
Right. Yeah.
So.
No, I just remember it being like a huge factor when dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just being like, it isn't that deep. Like, the biggest thing is, yes, it was crazy how it was spreading.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it was like, it had this virality that we hadn't seen outside of like a large factor plague, and it was harming people. But I think it was just like a level of there wasn't bodies in the street.
Yes.
And yes, I mean, people argue all the time, oh, but it was bad, but it was bad, but it was bad. It was like, yes, it was bad. Yes, it caused the whole world to shut down, but there wasn't bodies in the street. So you weren't stepping over your dead neighbor who was trying desperately to claw their way outside of their room,
Yep.
or was covered in pus and whatever else the
Yep.
bubonic plague had. It's like, yeah, I just remember people being like I just remember because I got the first needle,
Mm-hmm.
I got the first needle because I was like, well, I have to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked, got the first needle, worked, and then I just remember there was this girl, and she was working at one of the car companies. I won't name because they'll track it down and it'll cause problems. And I remember her coming up to me and telling me, hey, like, what do you think of me not having the vaccine? I was like, if you don't have to have it and you can live and work and do your thing, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it very much is up to you. And, I'm not going to be the person who berates you. If you want to make that choice and you want to, and like, here's the thing. Everybody's like, oh, but you're endangering everybody else. It's like, no. If the vaccine works properly, it shouldn't endanger anybody. And yes, you can argue, oh, it'll mutate and this and that. Sure, fine. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be, hey, you have to get this vaccine. Mm-hmm. And then when you go, well, no, I don't want it. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, then you lose all your privileges. Like, it just wasn't fair. Mm-hmm. And I remember just this girl, she mentioned that to me, and I was like, oh, I don't care. Like, because I guess she had to ask everybody if she could interact with them.
Oh, really?
Or something like that. No. Sorry. She was keeping it very much under wraps.
Okay.
And then she was asking me how I felt about it. I was like, I don't care. It's really up to you.
Yeah.
If my work and the things I needed to do weren't impacted, I wouldn't have got it.
Right.
Because there's something, it was too rushed. But anyways, I got it. I'm fine. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're fine if you got it. Mm-hmm. But for her case, I was just like, I don't care. And she goes, oh, okay, cool. And then I think maybe 2 hours later, one of the head guys found out. And I just remember him screaming at her, berating her.
For what? For asking people? Or
no,
for
her not being vaccinated. Oh, yeah. It was awful. And I just remember saying to the guy, I was like, it doesn't impact you.
Yeah.
You have your gloves on and your mask on and you have all your PPE.
Yeah.
Like, you're good.
Yeah.
She's not showing any symptoms. She's not this, she's not that. Mm-hmm. You're fine. And it really doesn't need the beration. And I think that was where I just started to realize how sad the world had become, because you were having these people treat people who didn't get the vaccine like they were monsters. And then you had the people who didn't get vaccinated treating the vaccinated people. They were better, but there was still like this level of like, oh, you sheep and this, that. Yeah. It was just like a total breakdown of humanity.
Yes.
Which was like, and it was like, if you pull down your mask, like the big thing for me was like, if you're not coughing, why are you wearing a mask? If you don't have some level of symptoms, why are you wearing a mask? And that's what killed me, the mask wearing. I remember like I'd be working and I'd be like rigging in the grid for like setting a light or whatever. And it would be so hard to breathe because it's hot and it's stuffy and it's, you're up in the air and you're exerting effort. And so I'd pull it down to my nose just to get some fresh air in there. And I remember the COVID safety coordinators on set would be like, put your fucking mask on. I'm going to kick you off this set. Oh my God. Like, it was just a power trip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so all that to say, like, it was like a total breakdown of humanity, and you really saw how people were.
That's when I found out people's real true colors.
Yeah, well,
not to say that it doesn't come out in other ways, but that really pushed the brink, I think, for a lot of people, because like I said, a lot of people are like backs up against the wall. Like they were pushing, like even people pushing their own immediate family members to take it. And it's just like, well, if you didn't, it's almost like you were casted out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
Pretty much.
So,
and even then, I just remember the part that really disgusted me was that even if you got all the vaccines, even if you did everything that everybody was saying, you would still get the people who looked at you like you were just like, you were disgusting.
Right.
And like if you cleared your throat, I just remember it being like such a sensitive time, and people were just being very, very ridiculous, to say the least. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was sad. It was sad to see the breakdown of just people.
Yeah.
I like even my grandparents. And they're old, so I get it. But I just remember it was like to see my grandparents, we would drive up and we would wave at them from the street.
Oh no, really?
In the windows, yeah. We would, and that was it. And I just remember being like, wow, this sucks. Yeah.
You remember that with birthdays? There was one of my friends who had a birthday, so her son was like still during COVID, so everyone had to do they went like a parade. It was like a drive-by.
Yeah, the parade. Yeah, I remember people meeting up in parks. meeting up in parks, and they'd like have one family standing
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there
yeah.
and one family over there.
Yeah.
I remember just being like, what the fuck kind of dystopian world are we living in?
I know.
The
Was so weird.
The big thing for me is when I was running down the street, and I'd
Yeah.
be running with my family or whatever, and we'd be running, and people would like cross the street or double back or make
if
a
they
turn.
saw you come close.
I know, and
right?
I was like, we are so far away.
I know.
And I'm not gonna go anywhere near. That was the part that probably like made me think like, okay, there's something strange going on here.
For me, it was like when we're out, and it's just like, okay, so you're out, and you're staying 6 feet away.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, before all of this, you were coughing. Like, people cough just because
Yeah,
it's tickling
just
your
normal.
throat.
Yeah.
Or you have an allergy, so you sneeze. And then when you did one of those things, people would be like, and turn the other way and like run. It's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like,
Right.
For real?
It was ridiculous. And I remember like when the testing kits came out.
Yeah.
And just like with work, I was being tested like every 24 hours pretty much. So every 24 hours, there was one job I did that was for a medical clinic, and I had to do like the what was it? I had to do the saliva test. I had to do a saliva test. I had to do the deep one where they like scratch the back of your brain here, and then I also had to do a blood test.
Oh my goodness.
But this was because we were filming in a hospital, so they were like, we want to make sure you guys aren't the issue.
Yes.
So I remember doing that.
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah, it was just like a very weird, very, very weird world to live in.
Yeah.
And just like just all the things that had to change because of how the world was. I just couldn't believe people. It was like just so strange. It was like kind of beautiful in a weird way. It was like sad but beautiful, because it really showed who the relationships that lasted through COVID were that much more strong, because you both were at a period that was scary and frightening for a lot of people, but then you came through on top.
Yeah.
And this goes into the second part of the question, which is, did you grow really close to people, or did you or what people did you grow further away from? And I found like any roster or like relationship that you had, I found it either really, really succeeded, or really, really failed. And there was a lot of people that really, really failed. Like, it was like, we coming out of this, we might still talk, we might work, we might interact, but now that I've seen different side of you, different colors, or maybe just the better way to say it is just how afraid you are at living.
Yes.
Because another big thing too was this idea that everybody was like, you're going to leave the house and die. And I was like, okay, but I've left the house to run this morning, and I left the house the day before to go get groceries, and I left the house the day before to run again, and I haven't died yet. So it's not like it's in the air killing me. And if it was, maybe that's okay, because why would I want to live in a world that you can't do anything but like sit and rot in your house? I mean, I remember being really rested though. I do miss that. Rested and very peaceful.
Not the hustle and bustle.
No, I just remember being very rested and peaceful. And I remember even there was all these underground things going on. Like when the vaccine enforcement happened, I know people were all like, oh, this is the template they use for the certificate saying you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to go out, you just let me know. I'll hook it up.
Yeah.
We can Photoshop your name out. I remember people, what were they? They were selling negative antigen tests so people didn't have to test. What else were they doing? Oh, there was this whole underground haircut.
Really?
The underground haircut market, because people were like, oh, you're not allowed to go see your barber or anything. And so what my barber did, not my barber, no, I guess it won't matter now, but what my barber did is he opened a little practice in his house.
Okay.
But it was still, like, I felt like I was fucking, it was like during Prohibition, I'm going to a speakeasy or something. It was like, come to my door, come alone, knock 3 times, and then I'll let you in. But just make sure that it looks like you're dropping a package, or that you're delivering something, or like something where we're not, because like technically you're breaking the rule by going in the house. And I remember it would be like out of a movie. I'd like walk in and I'd see him do this, like look up and down the street, close the door, and then like look out the peephole for a second, and then shut it and be like, all right, we're good. And I'm like, good from what? What are they gonna say? Oh my God, he's getting a haircut.
It's the COVID police.
Oh yeah, but I remember people like you get on a Zoom call because we were still trying to work and do some productivity.
Yeah.
You get on a Zoom call, and I remember the first time I got a haircut, people were like, "Did you get a haircut?" Oh yeah, just trimmed it myself. Wow, it looks really good. I'm like, well, when you have all the free time in the world, best
pick up a
place.
hobby.
Yeah, right.
Pick
And
up a new
everybody's like,
hobby.
"Wow, I should
Yeah.
do that. I should do that." Just funny
Love
how
it.
the world is.
Yeah.
Do you think people became more emotionally open or more emotionally avoidant coming out of this?
I think avoidant.
Yeah.
I think because we were so accustomed to being in your bubble, being in your circle.
Used to these 10 people,
Yep.
these 5 people,
Yep,
whatever.
and used to kind of like staying on your own, 6 feet away from people. I think a lot of people became more avoidant, and it's sad because when we started coming out, and now obviously now that we are, I still don't see people. In the beginning, it was more like people didn't want to even shake your hand, and that's a normal thing. You give somebody a hug. That's the normal interaction that humans are meant to have.
Yep.
You're meant to have physical touch, right? And all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's like people are afraid to touch you, even just like this.
Yeah,
like
I remember
this.
hugs. I remember hugs were a big thing.
Yes.
Like people were scared to hug. And
Yeah,
then
so they were doing all this like elbow shit.
elbow and but then I remember there being like the few people who didn't give a fuck because it was like a hug was more important than anything.
Absolutely.
And so you'd like interact with them, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, like I'll see you later, ha ha ha. And then both would do this kind of thing, and you'd go, I'll hug you if you're cool with it, and they'd be like, I need a fucking hug.
Yeah.
And it was a hard time for a lot of people. I think a lot of people just had such a hard time because they were either really alone or they were just stuck with people they didn't care for.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people retreated into themselves as a form of like mental safety.
Yeah. Like I found that with my daughter, when we started going to the mall, and I said, Maddie, let's go to the mall. She's like, okay, but do we really have to go? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's nice to go out somewhere different.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed that she was very like, can we make it quick? And I'm like, but why? We usually just go to, you're in the mall, you want to walk around, you want to have a bite to eat, whatever. Then as we were leaving, she's like, Mom, I need to tell you something. And I was like, hey, what's wrong? She's like, I have like anxiety. And I'm like, from what? She's like, 'cause all these people. I'm like, child, listen
That's
here.
a big thing.
It is. I said, listen here. I'm like, you're going to have to start to slowly get used to it because now we are back in the regular world, the norm, whatever. We're trying to get back to normal society. And I understand it might take you some time, but when you go back to school, you can't just avoid everybody. Like, you can't just walk on the other side.
Right.
Or, like, if you need to go to the bathroom, wait till everybody leaves. Like, it doesn't work. Like, you can't work like that. You know what I mean? Eventually, it's going to take time, but you need to, like, learn to slowly overcome the anxiety.
Yeah.
Over it,
That goes into the next question nicely.
Oh.
Do you trust, there's kind of 2 parts, and I'm going to see if I can combine them.
Okay.
Do you trust people more or less now?
Due to COVID?
Well, yeah, due to COVID or what COVID taught you? Because I don't think, like, COVID didn't directly do too much.
No.
I mean, yes, it separated a lot of family. Like, it had a very big social impact, but,
Yes.
all the resulting reactions and everything is kind of what changed the world there.
So, in all fairness and in all honesty, when it comes down to trusting people, I think that has not changed for me. I think my level of trust is the same.
Yeah.
Even before that. It's like trust always comes down to how you feel about somebody,
Right.
what their vibe is, what you tell them, and then you can see if people talk to other people because not necessarily you hear them, but it's like if you have mutual friends or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're hearing whispers or they come up to you or somebody mutually comes up to you, and be like, hey, by the way, I heard this, and you know what I mean. So then you know that trust is like out the door. So I think for me, I've had a good level of trust, and I don't think that ever really faded for me.
Yeah,
To be honest.
I it's not that I trusted people less.
Yeah.
I think I just became more aware of where I was, of places or areas that I was wasting trust. And it also, I mean, it gave me just more insight into, like, really look at the people that you trust, the people you care about, and really look at if shit hits the fan tomorrow, who actually is going to have your back and who's not going to have your back. And
Ride
maybe
or die?
yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe ask yourself that question, instead of thinking of it only in the small moments, make that part of your screening process.
No, I think it should be part of your screening process every day.
Yeah, make sure
Every
that
day.
people have your corner, because I remember being so surprised by the reactions I got from people, and I get it, like, the world's changing, people don't know how to react, but I just remember just being like so put off because people were just so angry, scared.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, how can we collaborate and how can we get through this together? It was like me against you, and I'll choose me every day, which fine, sure. But there was a better way to do things.
Absolutely.
Was there a version of yourself that died during COVID? Was there one that was born, or were you very much you throughout of it?
I was pretty much me, except when it was pressured as to why I didn't take it. And a good example of this is when I was over at my parents' house, and their dad was like at home or whatever. I don't remember. But I was there with my kids. My mom, every single time we came over there, because my parents were like up to par with the vaccines.
Yeah, most older gen, yep.
Yeah, so she kept asking me every single time I went over, Nat, did you take the vaccine? So I lied. And told her, no, not yet. Oh, you should take it. Yeah, I'm gonna. For some reason, this time around, my kids were eating, we were all chilling there, and my parents were just chilling in the living room. My mom asked me the question again. So I'm like my dad. My dad is very firm, and when he says something very firm, it's like, don't even ask. Like, just, it's that firmness and that. So at that moment, I had my dad's genes come out, and they don't really come out that often. I said to my mom, I said, listen, Mom, and I was straight up. My kids were quiet. They were like, I'm going to tell you this once. I'm going to tell you once only, and I don't want you to ask me ever again. You ask me if I keep taking it, like every single time I'm here, you ask me if I take the vaccine. I said, no, I haven't. Mike has, and that's fine, and that was his decision, and that was his choice. You guys did that. Those were your decisions and your choice. What you wanted to put into your body and whatever you did. That's fine. I never went and said, don't take it, whatever. So I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't taken it. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to tell you right now that my kids aren't going to take it. So stop asking. From this day forward, stop asking, because I'm not going to answer it anymore. My mom shut her mouth, was quiet. My dad just, like, because I think my dad right then and there was like, oh, that's my girl. Like, in a nice way, but you know what I mean? Because my dad never interfered. It was more like my mom that was like the one that was like on it, right?
Right.
So my dad basically asked me at some point, he was like, so the kids haven't? And I was like, no, Dad. He's like, you know what? Okay, that's okay. He's like, because you never know like what outcomes can happen. I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm not a scientist. I'm not, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. But I just didn't want to, because it's like my kids are still very young. And for whoever took it, again, I don't care. I'm still here. You're still here. You've had one shot. We're still breathing. We're still like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, that was the one time that had happened to me. And that kind of like set it off. But yeah, I think from that part, but other than that, nothing really for else.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I just became, my awareness of the world grew.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best way to describe it. So it wasn't really like it was more like an ego death, if anything. Because it just gave a glimpse into this is what happens with people and with the world when shit hits the fan. So I wouldn't say that a part of myself, well, I guess a part of myself did die during COVID.
You think so?
I think I went through kind of an ego death because when you're isolated and you really are like, all you have is your family and yourself.
Yeah.
I went through this, there wasn't any distraction. And I know a lot of people were drinking and smoking and doing all these things to cope with it. But I found that I was really sitting with myself and focusing on what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to be better.
Right.
And so because of that, it was like an ego death. And I remember coming out just a lot more clearer. I just was careful with my words. It was just like a very, very distinct difference from the Nason that went into COVID, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
Do you think we ever really went back to normal?
No. Straight up. No, I'm telling you, no. I don't think so. I honestly, you see it, everybody sees it. Don't tell me that it doesn't exist. A lot of mental health issues have came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, because they were isolated, literally some people didn't even have anybody.
Nobody.
So you remember how they were always saying, check on your neighbor.
Yeah.
Those that don't have other people, check in on them. Give them a call, knock on their door, wave at their window, like something, some
Mm-hmm.
sort of interaction. I think a lot of people got fucked up, like fucked the fuck up from COVID, like
Yep.
especially after, like even till now. I think a lot of people, the anxiety, like I said, is a real big thing out of it. People are very unstable with a lot of issues. People still up to this day still wear masks. Again, do what you feel. I don't care. But people are still very not maybe comfortable as they should be, like they did prior to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do think that we have not, I think a lot of us have a lot of issues underlying from that whole debacle that happened.
Yeah, I think it just it really changed how problems were handled in the world.
Yes. Well, we all heard about the whole debacle about the WHO and what they said. So that kind of gives you a big snapshot of stuff.
Yeah, and I also remember like when it was going around and people were getting COVID, like a lot of people were getting COVID.
Yeah.
I remember just being like becoming a joke almost.
Well, the funny thing is, it's because everybody probably had it prior to it being well known. Because it's like the symptoms, people have symptoms. And again, people have symptoms like the flu, but doesn't necessarily mean that they were quote unquote a carrier. Right? So it's like at the time, it's like you don't know whether you had it or not. Because it's like you've had it was like a regular symptoms that you would have, apart from the ones that they really heightened afterwards. But still, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I know I had it.
Yeah.
I know exactly when I had it, and it was because, well, I was getting tested all the time, so I knew exactly as soon as I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I got it from.
Mm-hmm.
The first time was bad, but
Yeah.
not horrible. It was just like a bad case of the flu.
Yeah.
But then by the second and third time, I was like, the third time I tested for it, I was like, it was positive, and I thought maybe it was a dud test because I didn't have any of the normal muscle pain, fatigue. I didn't have any of that that I got with the first time, and and then I think it kind of turned like that for everybody, where people, like, I know there's this one girl I was talking to actually recently. She was telling me she got COVID 16 times.
Wow, she actually counted.
She tested 16 times. Well, she was working on set. 16 times she got it.
That's a lot.
First time was horrible for her.
Yeah.
Like shaking in bed, sweating.
Yeah.
But then the last time was
It was
fine.
like nothing.
It
Yeah.
was fine. And so I get it. Like if you had preliminary health problems, definitely. I get the fear and the worry and all those things.
100%.
But no,
Considering the fact though that a lot of people maybe didn't know the reaction that they would have gotten, that they got out of that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I
yeah.
think that if you were at that stage, yeah, by all means, it's death-defying. It's literally death-defying because you don't know like, what the fuck, your body's like not used to this shit.
And the whole point of me saying this is I think that a lot of people learn to question hierarchy. And on the other side of that, I think that a lot of people came close with death through family members, through like I actually had a couple of my friends from elementary school pass away.
Wow.
Now they had respiratory issues going into it. So that was a big thing for them, or had ongoing health issues. I just remember being like, damn.
That was the same like my ex. My ex would be like consistently be like, nah, oh my gosh. I was like, what's up? He'd be like, I just found out that somebody passed away. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Throughout COVID. Like there was like consistent. I was like, that's bad.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, and I think that close brush with death and that just like showing how fragile the world is and how fragile people are, I think that snapped a lot of people, snapped them into like this harder reality. And I think a lot of people still carry that shell around their heart. Yeah, so I think that it just had COVID came and stamped its footprint into the ground, and I mean you still see it everywhere. It's always interesting when you see the partially peeled off
Stickers and all that.
stickers on
Yeah.
the ground,
Yeah.
or sometimes you'll walk into a place and it's like mask mandatory. There's still a sign.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird because it was almost so wacky it didn't happen, but then you see it in all the little things.
Yes.
Remnants, and you still see people hesitate when they get close, and everybody has like a big a much more larger bubble when they're in the store.
Yeah.
And people are still hesitant about shaking hands and doing all those kinds of interactions.
Yeah. I agree.
That kind of answers this question.
This is a very. I'm finding that this podcast is very, like, I don't know, serious.
It's very serious.
There's not the ha ha ha. Like the next podcast will be back to the ha ha ha. That whole thing.
Well, we're talking about a serious topic.
Yeah.
What's one thing you'll never take for granted again? If you were taking it for granted in the first place.
The one thing I would not take for granted.
Coming out of COVID, yeah.
For me, I think it would be I think human touch.
Human touch?
Yeah. I would not take that for granted. That I'm sorry. I'm very, very like big on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think missing that was a big factor for me. Because it was like slowly as we came out of it, it was like, can I hug you? Like, you know what I mean? I almost had to ask. Because it's like, I don't know if people would be comfortable of me being that close in proximity to them, right? So it was like, for me, I would never take that for granted at all. Because I am bred to have my culture. You know my culture. We're very bred to be like lovey-dovey, huggy. I'm not to say that people in general are, but that's just, I'm used to that. You know what I mean? Even like with my friends, I'm used to that. And I'm used to like, just like, this. And like to not have that
Very
with
strange.
you or just like other, certain people, like, yeah, it's like taboo to me.
Yeah. I'd say, yeah, like that's a good one. Like I would for me, I would broaden that to like just human like connection.
Yes.
Because I just miss interacting with people.
I was gonna say that
being
too,
in people's energy bubbles.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I get it. I mean, hugging, not hugging. I ride the fence. The people I care about, I enjoy physical connection with. But the people like acquaintances at work and whatever, it was just more like I enjoy being in their energy bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one. It's actually interesting because COVID made me realize how important personal time is.
Yes.
Because I mean, like I wasn't sleeping very much going into COVID. I was working a lot, and I was just like, I can get an hour here. Oh, okay, I can 4 hours here, 5 hours here. I wasn't sleeping a lot, and I was giving a lot of energy away to everybody. And I just remember being like, wow, I feel so creative and inspired and good, and like I want to work harder and do more things. And all I'm doing, there was a point in time where the world was shut down for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and literally all I did was I slept, I woke up, I'd go for a run, come back. If I was tired, I'd take a nap. If I wasn't tired, I would sit down, maybe work, read a book. I read a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
Read a book, maybe like make a coffee, hang out with family, whoever's around, whoever's up, and then maybe go work out again, go for a run. Like it was like just such a peaceful existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so
so you're talking like me time.
Me time, yeah, but me time in a very strategic way.
No, yeah, like
Yeah,
I mean, like
yeah.
like in that aspect, right? Because like there's me time when you're like, you shoot the shit with like the regular friends or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
or like, oh, I'm so tired at the end of the day, I'll put a show on,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But me time in the sense of like working out, sleeping, taking a nap if you need it.
Yeah.
Reading.
like doing things that you would not normally do
exactly.
on a regular
And things that
everyday
take
basis.
time. Because like I still go to the gym now, but I find that it's like gym is very efficient.
Yes.
It's like in, out, hour and a half, 2 hours. Do it first thing in the morning because otherwise you won't get time for it. So everything feels very functional, but that during that time everything felt purposeful. Like it was like I'm gonna go run and I'm gonna go run 10K, and it'll take me an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll take me an hour to go run and do it, and then I'm gonna run in one direction, because I can run there for an hour and run an hour that way, and then I can walk back 2 hours. And I can take 3 hours of my day to do a run and a walk, and I'll bring my phone, but I don't have to have my phone because I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to. There's nobody who's gonna call me, so I'm not worried about that. So I would say that it made me appreciate peace and free time or freedom in the sense of having time. I mean, but then on the other side, it's like, damn, I miss people.
Yeah.
Miss people, miss existences. You know what I really, really missed? I missed going out for breakfast. Like that was it was going out for breakfast and going out for coffee. That was the things that I was like, damn, I didn't know I missed it this much.
That much, yeah.
Until it was gone and you couldn't do it. Yeah. And even when it was the slow trickle back, it was still a very, very strange period of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it just made me very grateful for people.
Yeah.
People, presence, like it was like a nice, I always look back on it and go, it was a nice humbling experience on, hey, life got out of whack there, got insane. Now let's dial it back and focus on the things that are important.
Yeah. Do you think that it strengthened a lot of people more so now?
I don't know. I don't think talking to people about it, I think it hurt a lot more people. Can't even talk. I think it hurt a lot more people than it helped. But I think coming out of it, everybody had this level of resilience that was tangible. Yeah. You could feel that everybody was like, okay, we pushed through that. And if I can make it through that, then maybe this hard day at work isn't too bad. Yeah. I would definitely say there was some level of growth with people. Although I'm sure if we went I can't even talk. It's been a long day. If we went and interviewed 20 people, I'm sure of the 20, you'd get 5 people who were like, you know what, COVID really taught me things and I'm really happy. Like I'm happy I was able to go through it and come out better on the other side. It was like, trial by fire. And then I think you'll get the other 15 will be like, oh, it was horrible. Like, I can't believe anybody would say that they were grateful for that. Yeah. I think that's probably how the numbers would break down, if not more leaning towards the, oh, it was horrible. Right. Or at least that seems to be the consistent thing that I've seen. Yeah. Yeah. It really, really, really threw the world out of whack there for a bit. It did. And there was a time where I was like, wow, is the world ever going to get back to normal? And I don't think it really did.
But these days, the question is, what is quote unquote normal?
That's a good question.
Right? So your normal, again, we go down to everyone's perception of a word or an idea is different.
Well, you know what? I'll say it how I was interpreting it. Just the freedom. Yes. Not wearing a mask, not being restricted, going where you want, eating the food, seeing friends, just not being like locked it down. Yeah. And it did. It trickled back, and now we're in a time where you can, you see people at the park and on the street, and people don't run away from you as fast. But you still see the evidence there. 100%. I'm just glad that things are somewhat back to normal.
So am I. And I hope that people realize that what we've said and the things that people shouldn't take it granted for are actually working harder to build if you've lost that. Yeah. Because it's important to remember that at the end of the day, we're all human and we need to have some sort of connection to each other. Yep. Not everybody, but I mean, those that are close to you that you consider, very close acquaintances, friends. It doesn't matter, family, whatever, right? And to just strengthen that bond. Yep. I think is more important because we never know what's going to happen down the road. Mm-hmm. And those people are the people that are there to support you. Yep. And vice versa, right? And to actually just be able to go through emotions and different issues together and help overcome them, I think is very important. So I think hopefully people realize that connecting with people is something that should always be in our DNA, regardless. Yeah. Right? So I mean, Zoom meetings are great, phone calls are great, but it's always nice to have that human, I'm right in front of you right now, face to face type of interaction, right? As opposed to always having to hide behind your phone, hide behind, other things, right? Like a building and on the other side of the wall.
Nothing beats human interaction. No. Yeah, nothing beats being in somebody's energy and being in their bubble
Absolutely.
and being able to interact with them on a physical level.
Absolutely.
And being able to laugh and tap them on the arm or just like bug them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing beats that.
Yeah.
No Zoom call beats that.
Yeah. So hopefully everybody out there is doing that. You know what I mean? To some level of
go love somebody.
Degree. Yeah. Spread love.
Spread love.
That's important. You know, in a time in a world where we've gone through a bit and who knows what else is out there and what's to come. You know, like love is important, and enough with the bickering, arguing, stupid drama. You know what I mean? It's just it's tiring. That takes a lot of energy. So you got to give it back in a positive manner.
Yep.
I feel.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to really, really give back to all the people that matter, and
I feel like with COVID, I feel like the humanity was gone for a second.
Yeah, I think it was it was shrouded.
I think it was more like you said, more people were like, nope, I'm gonna take care of my own in my own backyard. Whatever's happening to you, that's
the hard side of humanity really came out.
Yeah.
The individualism, we can call it that.
Yes.
The the idea that we're all people was kind of lost. It was like me against you.
Yeah.
When I don't know if that's not exactly how it was. Yeah, I'm just glad it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there, and I know a lot of people are iffy on it, but it's getting better.
Yeah. Every day is one step to a better world.
Exactly. So I still like the saying, check in on your neighbor.
Absolutely.
Check in on the people that matter to you. Check in on your neighbor. I'm out of questions. So I thought, I was like, there was a couple that I was looking at that were just dark. I was just like, okay, we don't need to go.
We don't need to go. No,
we don't need to go too dark. And then there was a couple that I felt like we had a nice solemn tone.
Yes.
Of look out for people.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think of all the other summarization points.
Look out for people.
Go through an ego death.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to know what people's reactions were.
Yeah.
So, everybody, just whoever's watching or whatever, please comment, because it's I know everybody has gone through it, obviously, but everyone has had it touched one way or another in whatever aspect that is, right? So I'm kind of curious to know, how did it affect other people out there? Were people actually really hardcore on the whole, nope, I'm following the guidelines, that's what they said, so shut the door in your face. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, or have you got, or were there a lot of people that really didn't give two shits? I mean, because there's that realm too, right? And then there's people that just said, fuck it, I don't know what I'm gonna do, crawl in a rock and fucking hopefully we all fucking survive this
and
shit.
That's it. Yeah.
So it's like, but it did. I think that whole experience definitely had a lot of awakening on a lot of people for different reasons.
Yeah, I agree with you.
A lot of them, good or bad, doesn't matter, but we all went through it together, one way or another. Everyone has a different outcome of it. Everyone has a different view of it. But the principle is that it was one main focal point that the world went through.
Yep.
Right? So it's like, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people were not too happy about a lot of things that went down. And that's neither to say it was right or wrong. We're not here for that. We're just here to just talk about our own personal experiences and how we rode through COVID, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
So, write in the comments, send us an email, do all that lovely stuff, and then we'll catch you on the next one.
Yes. And the next one will definitely be a lot more like this. This is some heavy shit.
The next one will be juicy. This one was odd, but the next one will be juicy.
Yeah.
See you guys soon.
Yes. Till the next one. Bye, guys.